Poke me one more time. I'm gonna bleach all of you. Oh yeah! Good morning, fish keepers. This is Brenton with Brenton's Fish, and today I'm just going to walk and talk and feed and go through all of the tanks from top to bottom, and then bounce around the fish room, keep talking things that are going on, and update.
I've been wanting to do this fish feeding tour for a while, and I finally got a camera I can strap to my forehead, so I'm both hands free. This really lets me scurry across the fish room floor on all fours to get to those hard to reach places.
I wanted to show everyone how I feed the fish daily, or twice a day sometimes, and exactly the speed I go every day. I'll be feeding these guys some Tetra granules, Tetra Color XL tropical granules. This is what I feed everyone 90% of the time. Also, I'm going to say people underestimate how much these scuds eat. Well, you won't underestimate for long, because they'll start chewing away at your plants to let you know they're hungry. They'll start cutting off the colony of your shrimp. Got an auto chilling back there, munching and crunching. Really, I only feed scavengers once every 24 hours. They don't get fed twice. Key lime endlers. Look, we got a fry there. Now the fry were just not showing up until I put this big fake plant in. Got wisteria. It's not quite growing through. This frog bit's just getting started. I think there's scuds in the tank, the way everything's moving so slowly though. That's another one, trying to make a deal. Feed them twice a day. Maybe these key lime endlers will produce more spawn. Getting bigger, and I'm seeing little ones more. I think it's thanks to this plant, which maybe is my answer for the stack endlers. I try to feed them twice. They definitely get fed once a day, the fish do. Stack endlers and some Coolie loaches. I see a few fry in there. It's making me think that if you take these males out and let the females chill alone, might not be the best for fry these roots. I recently got rid of an Aphid infestation. And this high bubbling technique isn't what I was using at first, but this filter went out, so I blasted a hole through the floaters, and there's still a drizzle there coming through the filter. That one needs to be cleared.
It blew a hole through the floaters and the aphids. I don't see as many aphids in here. I'd like to think that they got knocked in the water or something. The Coolie loaches are hilarious, eel-like, nocturnal. What else could you want? Bamboo design. Like many species of fish, they seem to be a little more brave when you have a group of them. Stack endlers, they look kind of cool. They rely heavily on the light. You can see the green, the yellow, and the red only when the light hits it just right. Not like a cherry barb, you look at it from every angle and that thing is red and in your face. This colony's coming along strong. It's a few months old and it is moving a little slower. I would say it's my slowest moving strain out of all of the endlers that I have so far.
Alright, these black bars. Pretty good example of cherry shrimp living harmoniously with endlers. When I took this tank apart and I put the gravel in there, which is kind of nice, easy on the eye. Sometimes this brown gravel can look like a little too commercial, but there's just so much color. It's not a bad bag.
Only when I redid this tank did I find there were scuds at the bottom, which explains the lack of plant growth in this tank.
Colony B of the blue endlers.
Blue star endlers are a happy bunch of fish. And in this tank, it has the Scud Scourge. No one's eating them. It was just a couple of males and a couple of females. And then they have bloomed to 2 full colonies, no deformities. I was very cautious when they landed. I separated the females from the males and let the females spawn a few times before I put them back together. And it does seem to get to a point where everyone stops eating their young. I don't know quite how to explain that. Feels like what I refer to as food culture or tank food culture, where everyone in the tank kind of eats the same. If one guppy acts scared of scuds, the other ones will act scared of scuds. Whereas I've had colonies of fancy guppies gobble up scuds, and I'm assuming for the same reason the scuds don't get eaten, the fry don't get eaten. They haven't taught each other that yet. They haven't encouraged one another to misbehave more.
I've resigned to breeding shrimp in their own tank though. They create a little society. They act different when they don't have large blimps flying above them. I think the babies act different. They come out sooner, grow faster. Okay, this used to be sick guppies. They haven't been looking very sick lately. I haven't seen spawn, but I do keep it a lot colder in here.
I see a little bit of limping in this population. A hunchback, I'm not sure if that's deformity, old age, or someone's still got the giggly sick, but they'll stay away from the main population and might send them to the outside pond for mosquito duty. It'd be kind of like going out to the Old West when you have tuberculosis in the 1800s. I've noticed they do tend to be more healthy outside, and I don't think that's technically just stragglers that are dying off. My pond troubles didn't seem to start until I brought them in the garage. I can't be sure though.
Sick row. I've only got these Pingu guppies. Supposed to be purple.
These fish were really just kind of on standby probably 3 weeks ago. They got a few neighbors, and those neighbors came in hot, heavy, and sick. They came in from Aquahuna, and when they landed, I didn't think they were so bad, so I was trying to be cute, put them in my sick tanks. I was going to treat them. Well, they all passed. I had maybe a 45% success rate. I have never done that bad. I was not expecting that from the Huna, so there you go. I just feel like I have really high doubts about people who don't have the owners close to the methods of production. I'm not saying that every large business owner who sells fish has to be there hand-raising the fish egg by egg when the fish is born, but maybe some quality assurance from your big suppliers. Anyways, that's its own video. Sick fish and how I treated them. In parentheses, they came from Aquahuna. Coming soon. Sometimes they grow, sometimes they bow. And it seems like it transferred the umi gumi to every tank that was lateral with this because of the aeration. Now, if you would have asked me if things were contagious fish disease wise through just the tiny droplets from the aeration bubbles, I would have said of course not. Or if you're worried about it, get a top. But I feel like I'm getting whacked in the face with this firsthand. I could be incorrect. Regardless, everything is getting bleach.
You can see the effects of nitrofuracin green powder turn your sealant blue. The Icax will turn your sealant blue too. Methylene blue kind of depends where you put it in the tank. Of course, the catfish were in this tank when all my sick boys landed. So I moved them aside. And that is all little Corydoras. What's y'all doing in there? Right, please. Okay, sorry.
I'm just keeping these guys in here long enough to give them a clean bill of health. Once I'm confident that they're good, we'll get them off these plastic bottoms. Eventually, these guys did get put back into a sand bottom tank where they can ruffle their mustache through the debris.
Cherry barbs. They've been sick for a month, and I brought them back. What felt like the brink. If they were really on the brink, they probably would have never made it back. But they were floating vertical, not looking good, hiding from me, breathing funny. Didn't have any sunken in bellies like the other fish that came with it, but make a separate video on how I treated those. They're sitting in copper safe right now. They're sitting in Maricinoxy. All right, I go from bottom up. Got some tiger endlers. This could use a Hillstream Loach. Algae everywhere. Look at all those ram's horn snails. All those snails, period. What that tells me is there's no scuds in here. And I know there's no scuds in here because the moss is growing. I swear they eat everything. The snails will eat some things, the scuds will eat it all. Sometimes I'm wondering if the snails got a blame for what the scuds were doing. But then I remember my tiger lily. These elb tigers love me. They came in looking a little wonky. A few of them had to be put in a sick tank after the first colony dropped, the first generation. But as you can see, they have changed their tune, and they are as thick as the black bars. Man, they are hungry. Haven't seen a throwback in a while. These are ones I should probably keep feeding twice a day. Scuds in this tank actually choked out my green jade shrimp. So after selling and selling and then overselling, I just look in there one day and I don't think I have a sustainable population.
I like to put the over in overfeeding. And I have a lot of insurance, including shrimp and snails, the S word, scuds. Don't try to feed those with your general population though. I have a scud population in here that of course I've been trying to peel off of that shrimp population. I don't want them using the shrimp as food. They'll also use these plants as food. I'm pretty sure the snails no longer exist here because that was their demise. I try to feed this colony twice a day to keep them from being cantankerous. I overfeed on a tank by tank basis. I don't want these Endlers hungry. I don't want them angrily scavenging. We've got scavengers for that. I want the Endlers to feel like they have a banquet of food. And with that, maybe they'll be less tempted to eat the youngsters around them.
Trying to make a deal with them. Don't eat your spawn, I'll feed you twice a day.
And then I sell really heavily from this colony. Well, I guess I sell heavily from every colony.
They weren't as sturdy as I know other Endlers to be. Man, you can just really plop and drop Endlers. They could come in hot and cold. These were a little shaky. I dealt with the wobble, I dealt with the shakes. The spawns were really low. I took out some sick ones, treated them in sick row. They've been there since. And just hit it with, I believe, a dewormer. And they have exploded. Haven't seen stringy poop. Just keep your eyes out. Hunched backs. Sunken bellies. But really, stringy poop, I think, is the first warning. You always gotta look at fish poop. Tiger Endlers. Oop. Catch my wrist. Also got some yellow shrimp in there. There he is. Big little headlight. There we go. Yeah, what's he doing in there? Just traveling between the scuds. That one's loaded too. I believe, yeah. Those are eggs. Oh yeah. His little legs are flapping. That's how you know. I can only get frog bit roots like that outside. Placed in the sun just right, not too much, not too little. Of course the yellow shrimp go with the yellow tigers. Got my poking stick, specific for this tank. Don't want to cross-contaminate anything accidentally. So I've got sickos running around the fish room.
I would like to add I regret putting so much food in there. I usually don't do that. I knew there were scavengers and scuds in there. I'd be fine with water quality. I use this frog bit root system to hide all the fry for these tiger Endlers, but wouldn't you know, a few days after this feeding, it seemed like my scud population tripled.
Do you want lots of scuds? Shake this plant, then you'll see more scuds than you'll believe. Hey.
It clears something up. I thought I could negotiate with scuds by feeding them more. Their population's just going to increase. They're just going to be hungry. They're going to go after shrimp, snails, and plants. Feed them to your puffers and be done. I have had really thick guppy populations that seem to decimate scuds. So guppies eating these little isopods, 50-50 maybe, or perhaps when your population gets big enough, they get bold enough.
Start at the bottom. I cannot describe to y'all what a bad idea it is to get black fish with a black background. Now, I like the black backgrounds. I didn't anticipate that the black fish and black backgrounds mixed together like peanut butter and vinegar. It doesn't matter, we're getting covered in algae. Try not to overfeed them. I don't want their tank to scuzzy up. There's no snails in here to save me from myself. But they do eat a lot. I imagine they got bigger guts, bigger belly than your guppies. There we go. But you know, they come to the front. We're good. If I want to get a head count, I could just feed them. Open that lid and they all come to the front. This tank is soggy. This tank is gritty. So we have no cleanup here. So I try to feed them as little as possible. Filter is backed up. I'm gonna get a syringe and shoot water through this line.
The bane of my existence are these sponge filters clogging up with regular air usage. And it seems if you're able to fill up just your plain old syringe, any size as long as it fits the airline, and you're able to shoot water in reverse through that airline, it loosens everything up. It will set you free. These airlines are a mess because the sponge will clog up and stop working, and I'll hook up another line to keep the air going because I don't want to go in there and pull the whole thing apart. Well, this is the solution that I recently found to keep from pulling the whole sponge filter apart. Now I grab the airline that's clogged directly from the gang valve. I know which lines it is. I fill up a syringe and I push water through it instead of air. I have this bucket of aged water. Reconnect it to the line, get out of the shot with my official house uniform, my robe, and you're going to see that dust cloud, that mulm cloud come from the sponge filter. Maybe a little distressing at first, but after 24 hours, everything's going to be cleared up, and you're going to see air flowing through that sponge filter. You're going to see bubbles, where once you had no bubbles, or very small bubbles, now with everything clear, you have large bubbles. Full flow through the sponge filter. Very easy. It requires only two things in its entire sponge life, and that's a squeeze on the sponge under some fresh water. That's maybe every 9 months at the most. People will say sooner than that, but if you're in ultimate lazy mode, every 9 months. And then these filters want their airlines cleared, and that's like every year and a half. It's an estimate because you just spot check those and clear them when you see them not making any more bubbles. So getting those two pain points out of the way, the sponge squeeze used to be the easiest. Now it's the hardest because clearing the airlines are so easy. I'm showing you the aftermath, these bubbles going, but it's shaky footage like I'm trying to film the Titanic while it's sinking. But we can see 24 hours later, everything's clear. The sponge filter is running smoothly. And this is a big shortcut. Pulling them out of the tank, always a pain. But I find, especially with these large, coarse sponge filters, you can go a while without giving them a squeeze. And now you can just give them a squirt. Saving time on your sponge filters is going to save time in the fish room and free up more time for you to take care of more fish, more tanks.
Yeah, these guys are going. I'm looking at these swordtails and they all look female. Could that be my imagination? Maybe this big one could be a male, but I'm thinking there are 5 females in this tank. Oh man, I've seen a reflection, a gold mine. Not sure if y'all can see that. Okay, watch closely. I'm gonna skim my hand right there. Oh yeah, that's gold. That is gold. As you can see, already got a partial harvest right there. There you go, it's even a slightly different type of algae. Oh yeah, no like that. Feed that to my cherry shrimp as well. Could have given that to my Hillstream loaches. And I don't know if the algae eaters via suckers, either the autos or the loaches, really go after the floating algae like that. I feel like it has to be stuck somewhere, preferably a rock. All right, upwards and onwards. I usually do it a little faster than this. There we go. A little pinch to grow an inch. For you and your sister, or your child, I believe. Half black yellows, only 2 females on that. Slowly lost the males. Sick row, not gonna feed those guys. I've seen some wobbly swimmers. So probably gonna need a water change this, and then probably hit it with copper safe is usually my final answer. Familiar with the 4 holy dewormers. Got the half black Japan blues. You know, these tails, I think that they're just getting in a fight in this tiny little tank. So they've been gobbling up food at a faster rate. I feed them a little more, a little less cantankerous with each other. Half black blue Japan blue hybrids with the black bar. Entirely by accident, but I'm not mad at how sturdy they are. Half black yellow guppies. A mother and her child. This is another one with a spawning just stalled on me. They came in a little wobbly. And when you order these purebred guppies, I feel like you need to have the doctor's office open and running. They come in a little hot, they come in a little wobbly. And they're usually so inbred that you need to roll out the red carpet. You know, those purebred guppies come in and you have to basically land them directly in medicine. If I could do it over again, I would have landed them right in nitropuracin green powder. That's something that's going to take care of anything that's male related. Any burn that they may have gotten from ammonia. It's not going to help if they're sick with something at the fish store or wherever they came from. That will be beyond the male, I imagine, and will require probably a dewormer. Then bendazole, you could do metrodinazole. Levamisole, praziquantel mixes with metrodinazole. But you might need to try some combination of those. The nitropuracin green powder is going to be antifungal and antibacterial. You could start with that. You could add salt on top of that. And that's how I would welcome some of these purebred guppies. They just do not do well in the male. Very sensitive. That just comes with the game. This is my outside guppy colony mixed with Endlers. And you know, you're always looking for fish swimming funny so you can identify sickness in the tank. You might think that boy is swimming funny, but he's just old. He's an old one. There's another old male in here, I think. There was. Yeah, some of these are just old boys. I love that tail. See a black bar group in there, yellow tiger Endler group. So this is Endler and Guppies mixed that I'm doing. A mono shrimp would make quick work. My filters are clogged. I'm gonna pop this off, fill up a syringe, and I'm gonna blow water through there, pressurized. Again, feeding them well, hoping they don't eat their babies. I see a few fry in there. And we are on the truss system.
I'm watching this one closely. I've had a few roommates come in and out of this fish tank. It used to be loaded with scuds. This was my second scud farm. So after they decimated all of the plants, I put these guppies in here and the scuds disappeared. I think they're hiding in the rock. There are way too many for them to not get eaten though.
Also, got some shrimp insurance in there. The mono shrimp will eat things in a jiffy. They do not appreciate this heavily stocked tank. So I'm definitely gonna get these guys out on one of these This is all Endlers, but just mixed. So I pull all of the, what the seller called throwbacks from all the other Endlers. So you're seeing like generic Endler patterns. Boy, that is a clear tank. I'm gonna guess all the Pothos in there makes that crystal clear. This is an iron deficiency. When they come up yellow at the ends, it means you need to give them a squirt of iron. It's got green neon, silver Pothos, I think green emperor, marble queen. Different variations. And there's not a lot of plants that work right off the fish tank light. One thing I wanted to do with these garage plants is get a lifting curtain that is, I guess, a smart curtain. Those exist somewhere at some capacity in which it's going to let daytime in, but it's not going to let the nighttime street light come into the house. I can't stand that. I'd rather keep it covered 24/7. And I don't feel like climbing up there every day. But once that gets opened every day, I'm like wondering if these plants will react differently. The Surefire plant seems to be the corporate snake plant. That one looks thirsty. They look disheveled, but I had them in that hot garage. It would get maybe 105 in that garage during the day. I do think they're acting a little more normal indoors. Like all this happened in the garage, so we'll see. Hope it bounces back. Plants around the fish tanks, a pretty good idea. The grow light started to throw me off. It was always light bouncing off the fish tank, and I felt like the fish tanks needed to be TV-like, projecting light outward only. So we're gonna see if the window can't change things up, make these leaves bigger. I'm gonna chop all of these up. There's parts that just die, so it's not, doesn't look perfect. This is probably the only decent section right here. We could just take that. The silver Pothos isn't doing too bad. The dead pieces, I guess, could be toxic.
All right, this is Colony B for the Black Bar Endlers. This tank has certainly seen changes over the year, but the substrate is the same. A few red shrimp in here. Got a couple of Hillstream Loaches. And this tank is hungry with a capital H. The Endler colony is hungry. The algae is thick. And the oxygen is bubbling.
Okay, black bars. We wouldn't even be able to see these guys if it wasn't for the Hillstream Loaches. I saw one with a clamped fin. I'm looking at this guy and it isn't clamped, and I'm just hoping that we're okay.
I turned the temperature down to 74 and I turned on the air bar to give tons of oxygen to this tank. And I started seeing those fins open up, so I think that's what did the trick. These Hillstream Loaches are in cooler streams, lots of oxygen. They're not very efficient soaking that up.
Black bars, red cherry shrimp, trumpet snails, and the Hillstream Loach chilling. What is that female doing? Nothing creeping me out. Let me see if I can't get her out. You know, I've been seeing her lurking in the back, and just that behavior is enough for me to give them medicated food. Then bentazole flakes that were already dipped in garlic safe, or it's in, well, it's flake food, and it smells garlicky. You know, a lot of times you'll get garlic guard to make the medicine more appetizing. My cat got into this, and there's puncture holes everywhere, so I had to keep it in a Ziploc bag. This one, deworming 1. You don't have to refrigerate. The other ones, you do have to refrigerate. If I see any activity, stringy poop, Start them on this, or the metronidazole version of this. Again, this is a little bit of fin bin. Working on the names. Never want to call anything by its corporate name. Although you caught me saying copper safe a little bit ago. Copramine, I think, is the product of the other one, but it's copper. Chelated copper in particular, this one. You have chelated copper, and you can use the prime and no problem. You can use the prime every day. You don't have to do the water changes every day. That's enough sick fish talk. That's gonna be a separate video. But anyways, hiding female. Oh, she's not hiding anymore. Hallelujah. They finished 7 days at the fin bin. Oh my gosh, sorry guys. Fake y'all out. I've got snails, the trumpet snails, and the red cherries to play cleanup.
Alongside those loaches, it seems like they're blowing a hole through this algae finally. I'm going to go ahead and say that the snails and shrimp weren't doing anything to this algae. They really pick and choose what texture they like to mess with.
There's their cousin colony. These guys are all going to get switched. Separated, switched, and everyone's going to move one over. These are the same species as that one, so move all the males here, all the males go here, all my males from there go here.
This is Colony C of the black bar Endlers. It's very surprising how many fit in this tiny little 5-gallon. It was just by happenstance that they ended up here. Supposed to be temporary, ended up being not so temporary. Here's the colony, nice and snug. And I'm seeing that we're getting a little cloudy in here. I think that's because we have a coarse sponge filter, hasn't been cleaned out in a long time. When they start needing a blowout and a water squeeze, I can tell they just stop collecting debris.
And look at these guys. They were sick, real sick. This is 30 days of treatment. We're ending on copper safe, americinoxy, kanamycin, erythromycin, and then they've been touched by the 4 horsemen dewormers. And now you're starting to see behavior. I see a little bit of courting behavior. The males are bowing up at each other. And I'm just excited to hang out with the white clouds. 2 cardinals. One is acting a little funny, darting around. I lost all the other cardinal tetras. And that's going in the sick video later.
These guys received the royal medical treatment from me. It was 3 antibiotics, 4 dewormers, 2 different anti-fungal agents, and I think what I landed on was copper safe, Prazipro, Old Faithful, erythromycin. They ended up needing that. And I think we're stable. Can't say the same thing for the bloodfin tetras. And what we're looking here is the cardinal tetra. He's days into treatment, but there's twitching going on. He was the last one showing symptoms other than kind of the sloped backs on the white clouds. I followed it up with erythromycin and kanamycin at the same time, and it seemed to do the trick.
So this is another one that came from Aquahuna. No air in the bag. I guess they were trying to save space, and I did make a big order. But again, 45% success rate. You know, if I'm willing to tell you that Petco is doing a bad job, definitely be willing to tell you if anyone else is doing a bad job, especially if they keep expanding to the point where they can't even handle their stock anymore. I mean, that's a public service announcement. Some females can get so sick they get organ damage. Just never spawn the same way again. All right, Colony A of the Blue Star Endlers. There they go. Still working on getting my live plants up in these tanks. You know, it started off as a nutrient deficiency when I was trying to ring out duckweed, was trying to deny them nutrients. But really, I think little Scuds got in there and finished it off. So I've been going slowly, I put the fake plant in there to get spawn.
And the original female that I got from a breeder had a humped back, and I just kept on trucking. Haven't seen any inbred since. I hope they all remember Mother Crookback, where all the pilgrims came from. I put a medicine in here, nitrofuransin green powder, and it decimated all of the plants. I saw the fry cut back, so I've got this big fake plant in here, and it was an instant remedy. Eventually these guys will be placed, all of the males will go with the females from the other tank, and all of the males from the other tank will be put in a tank with all of these females. All right, it is time for Rice Fish Row. It's not all rice fish here, just one tank of guppies.
Rice fish. The blue rice fish have been doing well. Some of the spawn seem deformed. But I do see that one's pregnant. Holy crap. What was that? Pregnant and crazy. The black rice fish are sick. The koi are sick. You can see that the antifungal medicine given to these two make the water a little bit different than this one. These are also in copper. This one only got dewormers.
We've got blue rice fish, the black rice fish, the koi rice fish, Daisy's rice fish. Now these, they did the best for me. I've had a list of mishaps with a few of these breeds of rice fish. Some of the mistakes are on me, some are on the fish. We'll take equal blame on that one.
Whole list of things I learned about keeping ponds outside, bringing them in the garage, leaving them in the garage during the summer while it gets sweltering hot. Learned quite a bit.
But the Daisy's rice fish are the gift that keeps on giving. When winter was over, I brought these guys indoors from the garage ponds from my rice fish video. I thought I grabbed everyone, but it seems the Daisy's rice fish left behind some eggs, which are now a whole colony in the backyard. The other 3 breeds of rice fish that I had in there, I got several spawns from, but I think I made these little mistakes that kind of led me where I only have a handful left of each. The descendants I do have all seem quite deformed. Got some crookbacks. One thing I keep thinking about was, did I not let them ice over properly in the winter? I drug them in the garage, I babied them with a heater, and the only one that seemed to appreciate that were the Daisy's rice fish, which are kind of a different breed than the Medaka rice fish. Use the word kind of, even though they are absolutely a different breed. I think they can breed one generation, like when a horse and a donkey can make a mule, but there's no second generation. So not quite like a Guppy and an Endler, where those babies can have babies and so forth, and they're just smaller Guppies with Endler patterns. But maybe a Guppy and a Molly makes a Golly, and then those Gollies can't breed. The red-purple mosaic did well in the ponds.
I feel like they're a little bit more dainty eaters than the Guppies. You can just pour it in there for the Guppies. And these guys are pretty sturdy too. They're 2 purebreds mixed together, and they gobble, gobble, gobble. So I pulled these out of the tank in the garage. That'll be its own video. Learned quite a few things, what not to do, what medicines not to give while the adults are in there with the babies, because some of the medicines will clear out all the plants. I put a nitrofuransin green powder. If you want to see what that does to plants, your plants will look exactly like that. There's another one. It eventually got coppered. I started off with nitrofuric green powder though, and even though they say it's safe for plants, I've noticed it's safe for emerged plants. This thing survived a dose, but anything else that I had seemed to get decimated. This revealed fry for the rice fish, and without the fry to hide, I saw them, they all disappeared within a day. So not my smartest moment. Mistakes. This hobby is full of me making mistakes. Here's another one. I want to go through exactly how I built these, but one thing that happened to me today, they're held up with magnets, and they're quite precarious on this metal bar on this gladiator shelf. And I found this one all plugged in, lit up, and it dipped into the water. So that's why everything's dark right now. Can't see my dwarf chain loaches down there, but everything was on. I took it out, put it on top of the dehumidifier immediately. And you can see it is quite crusty. I'm not sure if I can use this again. It's already cheaply made. And just with that, already a fire risk. The Chronicles of the Rice Fish. But I'm gonna say, long story short, Daisy's rice fish seem to be the strongest through and through. And as you can see, I've got the generations here with me. I also got a whole row of dirted tanks going. I left this bag of sand outside and an army of bloodworms rose from that sand.
Most of them dead.
It doesn't seem like anything living does very well. Any kind of animal, bugs, arthropods, fish, tadpoles. I haven't tried fish yet, but the tadpoles did not have a good time in the freshly dirted tank. Put a lot of ingredients in there, including rust. You can see made it on the back.
I'm using the father fish dirt formula. In about 2 weeks, I started to see things actually living in here, including, of course, I mentioned the bloodworms, which are mosquito larvae, and they go through a few different stages. So I found this tiny little lobster-looking creature. The nerve this mosquito nymph has to look at me in the eyes through the glass. And I also found a dragonfly nymph, and I didn't know that they hatched this small, but I really hope he makes lunch of those bloodworms. If for anything, the fact that I don't want to be in the food chain for my fish room. The mosquito feed off me, they make larvae, the fish eat the larvae, the fish are eating my blood larvae. The fish have babies, I sell those babies, I use that money to buy a sandwich. It's the circle of life.
It takes a while to get footage together because I like to do time-lapse stuff. I feel like if I set up a tank and I show y'all are gonna wanna see it a month later. Probably in the same video, that'd be high quality. I don't know how that's gonna work out yet. Okay, so that's the end of feeding them. We went all the way down and up. Everyone's eating. All right. Go out to the garden. There's a few things I want to change here. I'm sure I'll get to it eventually. You can hear that rain. It's just gonna rain and refill these up right when I was getting them to the edge. Been placing these and watching them, looking at them, wondering where I should put them. Oh yeah, that's light. Oh yeah, we're ready to take a bucket out of here, huh? Oh yeah. Down. Light. That one drinks a little slower. This milkweed. Pulling fertilizer from the manure in there, and they create these alien bulbs. What in the world? Is this the milk and milkweed? The main purpose of these stepping stones is so I don't have to step in dog crap. Every time you take your eyes off your feet in this yard, that dog gets you. There we go. Oh. Check this begonia. Holy crap. Never been under there when this is happening. Help keep it down. That's what we got. This thing's making flowers again. Getting the manure out of there. I could just about get away with just throwing the sand in there. The poop moss seems to be good. We'll check on our first father's fish tub. Father's fish ingredients in here. This is also another video I'm working on. I really just wanted to give y'all a time lapse. Look how tiny that wisteria is. Way too much sun, I think. These penny weeds, pennywort, right out in the yard. And just grab it. Grab it, put it in your tank. I've been eyeballing this clover. Oh, got a little bit of roots I've been wondering how to get it submerged properly. But I was on an aquaplant website and I saw they were selling these. And it looked pretty cool. But man, if you can get a plant for free, that is the ultimate high. You can zero in. Oh, what's that fishy smell? What did I touch? Oh man. You could zero in on local plants to make a local fish tank. Last time they died immediately. And the other tub that had the wisteria wilting away. So I'm gonna come in here. Every time I stick my hand in water outside, I think of alligator. That's the fun of living in Florida. Alligator or snake. Soon an alligator won't be able to take me down in here. Cottonmouth would. Okay, there we go. We got the purple root floaters that do very well in the sun. This duckweed is coming back because I have the shade over it. So usually it gets just exterminated. All these buckets, it has it pretty well exterminated. The storm is coming. The storm is coming. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, brother. Alrighty. I guess I'll go inside before I film my own lightning death.
All in all, this is a pretty chill part of the yard. Before I put it together, it was the most unpleasant part of the yard next to this AC. It was the noisiest. Got to get a new AC so it's a little more quiet. This was my compromise, my replacement for all the fish ponds being on the porch. I feel like this hobby takes up so much of our relatively small space that I need to be a little more strategic about how it can be usable for me and for everyone else. Which is part of the reason why I chose this hot little corner of the yard. It was barren like a desert before. Pretty happy with the strategy of choosing the ugliest part of the yard and working out from there because it's now the most enjoyable part of the yard. I'm not sure if the back porch looks better right now. It's still a complete mess. It needs to get organized. 10 gallon, I want to set up a Daphnia tank out here to see how they do. Everything else is getting torn down and cleaned up. I keep mosquito fish out there. I have Guppy descendants that are out there more or less by mistake, but I welcome a surprise spawn. And of course, this goes the same for the Daisy's rice fish. I'm going to try to encourage melanistic mosquito fish out here in these buckets. Is probably something I want to examine more closely. These things are so cool to me though. They're almost like Dalmatian mollies, but they're in the guppy class. From what I can tell though, mosquito fish can't breed with guppies. They're not like endlers and guppies. And I see contradicting accounts of them breeding like what I described guppy and mollies doing with just the one generation offspring. Also, these genes aren't set, meaning the offspring may or may not look like what these males look like. And in fact, I think they tell you that the first generation is always going to look like the plain mosquito fish. And then the second generation from these guys may have the spots depending on how you roll the dice with the female genes. It's something I want to watch firsthand, so I kind of want to not only set this up in an outside pond, but also examine this in a glass tank. Regardless, that's in a video for the future.
Got the grow closet. This light and this light's off. Been watching this guy. This is my Indian almond leaf tree. and he makes it. This begonia masculata's coming together. A box fell on top of it, a stack of heavy boxes, and it crushed this plant to 1,000,000 pieces. So now we can see the propagation. This one probably wins the Scuzzy Award. That's why it's not coming. This one's not coming back, I don't think. Wow. This Pothos was getting way too messy. Wrapped around one of those tanks. This guy hasn't been watered in such a long time. Honestly, I think that's what's wrong. It's like soggy soil. I don't like that sag. It's been a while since this thing ate. Give this bird's nest fern a... Oh yeah. Oh yeah, it's light. Talk about any toys. I sure like these filters. Pawfly sells them under Amazon. They're not Pawfly. Or they could be. But on Temu, they're called something completely different, and it's the same packaging, which makes me think Pawfly does a little outsourcing. I guess that's all we got. I want to put this outside. It's so dainty, and I like it a lot. Which is why I kept it inside. I like the texture. I do not know what to do about this. Polka dot plant. There you go. Bonsai it. I know every plant you see that's in really bad shape, I know exactly how I did that. That's overwatering. But it survived. Just don't overwater again. There are plants I've been losing inexplicably. The butterworts is a little more challenging. These carnivorous websites would just load you up and tell you to keep it in an inch or two of water. That is incorrect. They did manage to tell me only water this thing for every 4 days with distilled water. I've done that. It has some kind of deficiency where it's not making its pictures though. But yes, butterworts. They have to be kept in kind of 70, 80 degree weather. They don't really like highlight, more of a low light plant. Yeah, this thing lasted like 2 years under my care and just kind of went out one day. I'm not sure if it's trying to hibernate or it tried to hibernate and then I overwatered. So that's gonna take some practice. Oh geez. Gosh. Such a goober. Such a goober plant. I'm not even sure if this is variegated. I think this was just labeled as a regular. And that it's not the lemon, that I lost my lemon somewhere else. And the lemon actually looked less variegated than this Pothos, but there you have it. And I replaced this tank. I left a female by accident in the old tank. It was so cloudy. And after a few swipes, I thought I got everyone. Usually keep that tank out to the next morning just in case someone got left behind, and she certainly did. And she was covered in ick when I found her, which really goes along the lines of this being a few problems in this tank. Not enough plants, probably could use a little bit more substrate. Anyways, looked at my handy dandy calendar. I remembered that's what I had going on.
All right, fish keepers, the day has been long. The fish have been bountiful. The frog jump scaring me has kept my cardio up. I think it is time to bring this episode to a close. We saw many things, had a lot of laughs. I promised many videos. This is my garden. I come to at night to roll the dice on some malaria. Pray for me. Until next time, fish keepers. Until next time.